Hello, all you amazing, empathic, highly sensitive, and intuitive healers and others. So, today's topic is still about relationships. And one of the things that people are generally not aware of is that telepathy is a thing. And there's two ways you can interact with people on a nonverbal level, and one is by projecting thoughts, and the other is by projecting emotions. So that can affect you adversely, so stay tuned to hear more. This is Anastasia. I used to be a physics professor specializing in vibrational and quantum physics. After recovering from a serious illness using energy healing on myself, the calling to heal became so strong that I had to quit my 40-year research career. I replaced my 6-figure professor's salary within 5 months using a simple but not easy 3-step system that I worked out to grow my healing practice. Now I help other healers grow their practices, whether they're just starting or already have a practice, with this same 3-step system. I'm all about helping you too. Listen in to learn more. Okay, so glad you're back. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about relationships and telepathy. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It's raining outside like crazy. So there are two ways that we can interact with people nonverbally, and that is beyond the nonverbal expression, like facial expressions and body motions. Like can interpret that. Like I talk with my hands a lot. I grew up in a Greek family, and we tend to talk with our whole bodies, right? So So this is one way that we can communicate nonverbally. In fact, most of our communication is actually nonverbal, because the actual words, unless they're printed on a page, the actual words when you're communicating with somebody, in the same presence, or via video or Zoom or Skype or something, even on the telephone, the actual words matter less than your tone and your body language, right? So in the non-expression, the non-visual communication, your heart will emanate out up to 25 feet, and the heart emanates out its emotions. The heart is actually, may or may not know this, is both an organ that pumps the blood through your body, but it is also a gland. And when your body is happy, it secretes 2 different hormones that are happy making. They make you feel relaxed and happy, and that's when your heart is sending out these nice smooth waveforms, and it is allowing people to feel comfortable around you. They feel a loving warmth from them. Like my dad was totally like that, and when he would walk up to people, not only was his body language welcoming and his smile welcoming, but he was also truly a loving, gentle guy, and people just loved him, right? They felt very comfortable around him. Anybody who came in the house and met him always said that they wanted him for a dad, right? So that's the one thing, is the heart emanating out emotions. It can emanate anger. It can emanate out jealousy, shame, and guilt. And depending on what it is, you will actually feel the same emotions unless you're keenly aware of this, right? So what happens with a lot of people when they get together, especially women, and they're talking, they like to empathize with one another. And when they So sympathy, sympathize, empathize. When they get together, they match their vibrations with one another to feel connected. And you, as a healer, want to keep yourself at a higher level and help them match you rather than you go down to their level and you match them. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was telepathy, because we can project thoughts into one another. There are some people that can feel them, absorb them, and see them. I happen to be one of them. I have a very high level of telepathy when I allow it. Most of the time I block it. I don't like listening to other people's thoughts and feelings, but it is another way. And I just am saying this for you to be aware of it. And the reason why I want you aware of it is that a lot of times the feelings that you're having at the moment are not your own. And it took me a long time to figure out who I was and who other people were. So I had to be alone a lot, at least during the times when I was recovering from a difficult relationship, is that I had to figure out who I am. Right? And so once you know who you are, I did a lot of journaling. Once you know who you are, no one can tell you who you are. So that's really, really important. Because if you are highly sensitive, you are most likely feeling other people's feelings, and you're most likely also getting pictures from their thoughts by telepathy. And there's two kinds of telepathy. Right? There's something that we call broadband telepathy, and that would be if I'm standing in a room talking to 300 people and I want everybody to get me, I will open my mind up and invite them all in to allow them to see what I'm seeing so I can project the picture of what I'm saying into them. And as a teacher, this was very handy because I could then picture what it is they needed to see. I would draw some of it, say very few words, and people would come up to me and say, I get this concept that I've been struggling with for a really long time, and finally I get it. Right? So that usually means that you're projecting pictures into their mind and they're finally getting it. And then there's narrowband telepathy, and narrowband telepathy is when you are speaking only to one person and you're projecting thoughts into one another. And I have to tell you that my first really weird experience with this, and I call it weird because it was unexpected, the first really weird experience I had with this was when I was single and living in Germany. Okay, so this man's native language was German. And my native language is English, but I was fluent enough in German where we could have conversations. And as we were walking and talking, we would say the same exact sentences at the exact same time. And that kept happening over and over again. And finally he says to me, okay, what am I thinking? What number am I thinking from 1 to 10? And I answered it, and it was correct. And then he says, okay, what am I thinking? And then he kind of went, whoa, because I answered it correct 3 times. And then he says, okay, what number am I thinking from 1 to 100? And I heard in my head, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. And I said, it's 55. And he goes, oh, no. And then it really freaked him out. And I said, okay, so he said, I wasn't thinking 55. I said, no, what I heard was 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, but of course in German, fump, 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 fump. And it really freaked him out. And I didn't hear from him for a long time, but we then started doing party tricks. Like when we were invited to the same party, then he would say, I could read his mind. So I know that this sorts of things happen. And I know that it happens because the number of times that this has happened over and over again, people approaching me and I say to myself, oh, he's thinking this, and then he blurts it out right as I'm thinking that. And it's somebody I may have never ever met, right? So I know that this thing exists. But what was important was with this gentleman is that he had a lot of strong feelings for me, but I did not for him. And so whenever I was in his presence, I was overwhelmed with these strong feelings, like strong, attractive feelings. And I felt that way towards him. And then when I was not in his presence anymore and he wasn't projecting to me, then I just felt like, he was a nice guy. That's it. So then I started recognizing this was a lesson to me. This happened when I was about 40. This was a lesson to me to start paying attention to how I felt around other people as opposed to alone. And it started to unravel this telepathy thing. So I just want you to be aware that what you're feeling for people when you're in the same room with them, if it's different than when you're apart, then telepathy is playing a role in it. And there are lots of documented cases in which people do pick up thoughts and feelings of others, and they've measured them. For me, it's so irregular because I don't want it to happen. I block it, right? Because I don't need to be in other people's heads. I prefer my own thoughts and feelings to other people's, right? And I hope that's that way with you too. But being aware that that you can absorb other people's feelings by being in the same vicinity as them, but you can also absorb their thoughts. And being aware of that helps you unravel a lot of times a very complicated relationship that you might have with somebody, right? And I had to do that with, for example, my ex-husband. He was a person that I could absorb his thoughts. And I knew that is like when we would be out looking for something, and then I'd go, oh, I have an idea, and then I'd turn around and he'd be looking at it, like looking for something that was lost. Oh, I know where it is, and I turn around and he was looking in the cabinet that I visualized in that very moment. And he was another person that we would say things at the same time. Not as much as the other gentleman I dated in between, but pretty similar. I think I scared him off by having this skill, but we're still good friends. He still lives in Germany and we still communicate on Facebook. But I don't think he would have wanted me to know what he was thinking all the time. It was too scary. So just so you know, the whole purpose of this little conversation is that you have to be careful and make sure that your feelings are your own and that your thoughts are your own, and that you understand that telepathy really does happen. And when you are speaking to a crowd, for example, and there are people in the room, that you open yourself up and show them with your mind as well as your mouth what you're saying, right? Because as I said, most communication is nonverbal. I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much for taking valuable time out of your day to listen in. If you found this message helpful, please help spread the word by giving the broadcast a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Share it with your friends and be sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on. For further training on healing and growing your healing business using my 3-step system, go to www.highpaidhealers.com. And I'll see you in the next video.